weather.
Welcome to Ned's Tech. So this is the next episode where I'm going to be doing a review on the Xbox Elite Series 2 controller. Well, as you guys might know now, go big, go home, get the cons, weigh out the pros. Is it really worth it? Just letting you know, I've had the first one and it's done me well. I've got the second one now. Just letting you know this because obviously I know the difference between the two and just really telling you, is it really worth upgrading from this one to this one, really? So yes, obviously you should know pros, cons, feedback. Just letting you know, there's quite a bit of feedback for this one, so you're gonna have to settle down. Sorry. So yes, the pros itself. Let's just crack right into this, shall we? The first pro is the hair triggers. So basically, if you did not know, you could adjust the trigger length, so short, long, medium, long, however. And on the first one, there was an issue with the first one. So basically, if you was playing a game where you was driving as well as shooting, the problem was you have the hair trigger on because obviously you want to have a shorter or quicker response for shooting, but when you get into a vehicle, the issue now is that it uses the full trigger as the throttle basically. So when you have the hair trigger on, you push it halfway down, you're only going half the speed. So that means you have to take the hair trigger off and on and off and on every time you get in and out of a vehicle, which was a nightmare. But that's the thing, it's a single pass, and the Xbox Elite Series 2 does not have that. The next one is now the charging case. The case itself does need adjustments, but because it can be used as a charger as well as, that is a big deal for me. So basically, we've all been there, we're playing a game and all of a sudden we need to quickly do something, whether that's go to the toilet, get a snack or whatever, and all you have to do is just place the controller down onto the charger and walk away, come back, and it's charged a little bit. You've got a little bit extra battery life, which is actually kind of handy. So yeah, charging case, that's a big plus. The next pro, I don't know if I should have really added this into the pros, but I'm looking at it as a feature, not really as for what it's like, but the feature is Bluetooth. And yeah, it's a pro for sure because obviously you can go between devices, whether that's laptop, and because they've got Project X Cloud now, so you can go from tablets, iPads, phones, etc, and of course consoles. And yeah, definitely a good thing. Now on to the cons. So there's 4 cons, so let's dive right into this. When I mean cons, by the way, I mean it was something that they added which was just really not needed. There is just no impact whatsoever when it comes to this. First one, it is the adjustable tension sticks. So they've added adjustable tensions to it, so it can be really hard or really soft when you want to push and control the analogs. But here's the thing. Every time that I was using it on a different game, I always played around with it of course, but I always found myself using the lowest tension, the softest tension. And 2 reasons why. One, it's easier, it's just quicker response, and of course it just makes sense, especially if you're playing shooting games. But not only that, I started to get a few little cramps here and then in my thumbs, and a little bit of a frustration of course. Of course it does depend on obviously how well your hands are. So on to the next point, which is the profile system. Well, I mean the timing of profiles, I should say. Let me explain. So, on the first controller you had 2 profiles of course, on the second Elite you now have 3 profiles. And of course you got 1 meaning default, so 4 in total meaning. But here's the thing, they can add as many profiles as they want, but this is what actually happens when you play a game. You change the game, you load up the game, you change the profile, you now have to wait for the game to load. So no matter how many profile systems they add, you've still got to wait for the game to load up. So it's a bit of a waiting game now. With the first Elites, what I tend to do was just change the game, go back to the Xbox Accessories app, add the profile, come back to the game, and the game is basically loaded because it was doing it in the background. So killing 2 birds with 1 stone there. But here's the thing, I say all of this now. Of course, you have the next gen consoles coming out in the future, so loading speeds for games are just going to be the thing of the past. So I say this is a con now, but it won't be in the future. Now, on to the next point, and the one after that as well, which was also the last. They're both connected, you'll see what I mean. But I basically just want to quickly say how Microsoft, what the hell? Honestly, when you announced it, when you told me everything about it, I knew there was something wrong automatically. And I was questioning it, I do not know, but I bought it in the end just to double check, and yeah, I was right, meaning that this feature is just so pointless. So what that is basically the Type-C port. So for those of you who don't know, there is a link in the description or a right here, just click on that, you will know everything about cables and stuff like that. So yes, so adding a Type-C port, and they said it themselves, we are now part of the family. You are not part of the family of the Type-C, okay? That is basically you just saying, you're walking into a house and you say you're now part of the family. No, there's things you need to change, okay? So it would have been nice if you added quick charge or PD charging. Honestly, imagine that on the controller, that would have been amazing. But either way, you added Type-C. So you've added a port which is more expensive for the sake of not needing it at all because you don't get the full benefits from it. No thought process. And then the next and the last point, which is now the internal battery. So for ones out there who say, oh thank God they've now added an internal battery to the controller, you need to understand an internal battery is only benefit for 2 reasons, okay? But here's the thing, I want you to understand that having batteries is actually better than an internal battery. The reason why is because every battery disintegrates over a long period of time. Every battery. We've seen it on phones and everything. And what that means is that you then have to replace, well, the battery of course, but if it's an internal battery, you now have to change the whole entire device. So with my old Xbox controllers, I can just take out the batteries, put ones in, or if it was a play and charge kit, obviously just buy a whole new pair and that will last me years. And yeah, by an internal battery, you have to get a whole new device. So it's just more expensive when it comes to internal stuff. But as I was saying, there's 2 benefits for the internal battery. One is battery life. But battery life is not important, especially if you've got a battery device that is right next to an outlet that can be charged at any moment, especially even if it tells you you're low on battery, you can just plug it in. So battery life isn't a big deal. But the next thing now, it is down to is PD charging and quick charging, as I was basically just saying. Like, you can have an internal battery and you can have that fast charging speeds, but they didn't add it. It's just the thought process just wasn't planned out whatsoever. They added an internal battery because, ooh, battery life, and they added a Type-C because, ooh, now a family member. Just, what the hell, Microsoft? Now, on to the feedback. So, I'm going to be doing the software, and then there'll be hardware. So, basically the first thing is, which it just clearly shows how they just made the product, but they never used it. So, of course, I upgraded to the second one from the first one, and when you do that for the Xbox Accessories app, the console does its thing and it's like, oh, you got the controller. That's it. Meaning, all the profiles that you had on the first Elite does not get transferred to the second. So they could have easily just allowed a button to say, do you want the old stuff? Yep, there you go. But they didn't add it. What? Next one, it's the battery low notification. And so here's how it works. Your Xbox obviously has a battery icon status in the top right corner. When that goes red, it sends you a notification battery is low. But it doesn't consider the battery capacity. So what happens, with the Elite 2 you have 40 hours worth of gameplay. When the battery icon is now red, you still have a good hour or 2. When I got the notification, I carried on playing and I played for a good hour and a half. So I say this is a software thing because if the console would recognize that you're using an Xbox Elite controller, well, version 2, it can easily just tell you to change it in a way for it to be, oh, we'll tell you a little bit later. It's a software thing, that can change. So the next point is now the Bluetooth, okay? So yeah, as I said, it's a pro, yes, but there is so much hassle for this, okay? So the pairing mode. If you want to pair it to a device, when you turn the controller on, it connects to the previous device that it was connected to. So if it was connected to the console, you turn it on, the console can turn on if it has to, but you then have to put the controller in pairing mode, turn the Xbox off. Extra step is just not needed. But of course, if it was connected to your phone, it connects to your phone automatically. But weirdly enough, I don't know if this is just my laptop, but for Windows, it doesn't connect to the Windows automatically. I don't know if that's a bug, but that's just a little extra thing to throw in there. Another thing as well, I don't know if this is just me alone here, but if you do have a Windows laptop or PC, when you turn it on and you want to connect it, here's the thing. You've now got to go to the Bluetooth settings, unpair it, forget the device, and then pair it again. Bit of a nightmare, but it's a step that needs to be done for the sake of the controller. Yeah, And another thing as well, I again don't know if this is a bug or not, but there has been countless of times where my controller has just randomly disconnected, but only on my Windows laptop. So basically, how to fix that is very, very simple. The pairing button, tap and hold that, and it turns on in pairing mode. The next one, it was on the first Elite controller, and I still don't get why it's a thing. Honestly, basically you can adjust the brightness of the Xbox home button. I'm clearly like, that's too bright or too dim, like, I don't give a damn. So honestly, Microsoft, just get rid of the feature. What would have been nice actually is that it could have multiple LEDs, different coloured, like the buttons for an example, so red, green, blue. If you went to your friends and they have an Elite controller, you turn it on, connect to the console, and you could set it to blue or whatever colour, so you can recognise which controller you. And now the last feedback for software, it's nothing crazy, obviously it's just something you have to get used to really, but basically when it comes to the Xbox Accessories app, you will get to see this. On the left, you obviously have the front, on the right, you get to see the back of it. And the annoying part about it is that when you use the right side, the back side of the controller, then you've got to now understand it's mirrored. When I used it for the first time, I was changing the left paddle, thinking that it's the left paddle, but of course it's the right, and then vice versa. But you just have to get used to it. It's now mirrored. Maybe there was a simple way of fixing that, but like I said, it's something that you just have to adjust to, really. Now, onto the hardware. This one's already said quick charge. Just add quick charge. Honestly, quick charge will be so amazing for this damn device. Imagine it, and especially for a charging case. So you need to quickly do something, you place it down a good 15-20 minutes and it gives you an hour or two of gameplay. Like, just, it doesn't have to be crazy, just something small. Next one, I think, this is just my opinion here, but I feel like adjustable tension triggers would have been better, to be honest. And I think the reason why is because if you was playing a sniping game, for example, obviously they say don't pull the trigger, squeeze the trigger. That would be kind of like getting you more immersive into the game. That would have been kind of nice. The next one is now the case itself. As I said, it needs adjusting. So here's the thing. When you put the controller in, yep, nice snug fit. You close the lid, snug fit. But here's what I just don't really get. The netting of the pocket, it secures the controller, but it doesn't secure the buttons, the extra little paddles and stuff. So when you do put that in a bag or wherever and it's moving around, all of the paddles, all of those extra sticks just fall out and it's just a mess. Honestly, I feel like they could have added another piece of foam in there just to support those. That would have been kind of nice. The next thing is, yes, the actual netting, the pocket itself. So here's the thing. They give you a cable, yes, and obviously you've got all the extra little buttons. But if you put anything in there, it's actually becoming a bit of a nightmare to now close it because the netting is also supporting the controller. But it just wouldn't even close properly. It's still quite tough to close, especially when you put something into the pocket basically. What I suggest, why don't you just move the pocket down to this big empty space, and where the pocket is, add foam. One little other, just a tiny little thing really, is that when you do close the lid on the actual case itself, it would have been nice if there was magnets here and here. And the reason why, because when you close it, it's just a magnet that just closes automatically, and it's just a nice authentic kind of thing. It's just a nice satisfaction in a way. Now that is basically it for the controller, but I will just say one last thing before I go. And basically, when you do have an Elite controller, I do recommend getting yourself a rubbery grip case for it. It's just something to give a little extra protection and more grip to it. So there is one that I currently use. I use this one here, and it is very, very nice. I used it on the first one, and I've got it on the second one now. So that is the review on the Xbox Elite controller. So yes, to put everything into a nutshell, basically if you've got the first Elite, keep hold of that as long as you can. Make sure it looks after, and just keep it. Not worth upgrading. If you've got the second one, get the rubbery grip case as I was mentioning, and trust me, it's amazing. I'll put the link in the description for the one that I've got. It is really worth it. But of course, if you like this video, please hit the like button, hit the bell notification, do what you're gonna do, and of course, peace out. And of course, a special shout out for the guy who actually made the intro for me at the beginning that you saw. I absolutely loved it in every single way. It was amazing, it was beautiful, and yeah, it's definitely me, let's just say that. And yeah, if you want to know everything about him, everything you need to know is in the description. He does games, he does editing, he does everything basically. So yes, please show him some love, show him some support, and yeah, that's what you need to know about him. And also, I forgot to mention actually, another Twitch streamer that I recommend watching is Dabroskiis, and again, link in the description. And the reason why is because you will get to see me play games as well as him, as a few other people as well. And trust me, we're a laugh. We're a laugh and a half. So yes, please follow us on Twitch. You'll love it.